Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you're a returning viewer or subscriber. Today I'm going to be filming another video where I talk you through more of my physical TBR. So about 6 months ago I filmed a video where I ran through every single book that I own but hadn't read yet. That was a very long video, but I kind of rushed through things because I had so much to get through, and it meant that I showed each book in a really random order, so it's hard to kind of grasp how much of each genre I owned and what exactly was in those genres. So I'm doing this series now where I'm taking each genre, I'm doing one video where I talk through every single book I own within that genre that I haven't yet read. So I've done a video for romance books, which I'll have a link down below along with my entire physical TBR video. I've also done one for my Kindle books. In today's video we're going to be talking about fantasy. This is just physical fantasy books that I haven't read yet, so if you want to see what kind of ebooks I haven't read yet, then you will have to check out the Kindle video, which again will be linked. I'm really hot, and so I took all my rings off because my hands are like sweating, which is a bit TMI, and then I forgot to put them all back on, so I've just remembered because I feel very uncomfortable when I don't wear rings. So I'm going to quickly throw them all on. I have a lot, much better, and we'll get into the video. Oh my gosh, I thought it was a spider, but it was a ladybug. Okay. If you didn't already know this, I used to primarily read fantasy books. I now read kind of more literary fiction books with a little bit of romance in there, but I do want to get back to reading more fantasy because actually right now I'm in such a fantasy mood, which is the reason why I chose this genre, this particular genre to speak about today. It has meant that I've been collecting fantasy books for a long time, so there are a lot of unread fantasy books on my shelves. If you didn't already know, this bookcase here is my TBR bookshelf. The bottom two shelves of this 3-shelf unit are basically empty. I'll insert a clip so you can have a look. There are so many fantasy books on my TBR, so I'm hoping this video will kind of like stamp me into action and help me pick up more fantasy books in the near future. So this is in no particular order. I'm just going to run through every single fantasy book. I also have not split this up into like sub-genres. I just included everything, which is paranormal, dark academia, which features like magic in it or whatever, high fantasy, urban fantasy, the whole lot is in here. Just anything that features like a magical creature or actually has like spells and things like that in it, or is set in like an entirely fictional world, is included in here just to make things easier. The first book I have is Nevernight by Kristoff. This is a book I received for my birthday a couple of years ago, so it was about time I read it. But yeah, this was really big on YouTube a few years ago. I never ever hear anyone talk about it now, but I do see it still promoted a lot. It's like often on displays in bookstores, and it's also often like shoved in your face when you're searching for like fantasy books. I would love to see more people talk about it because I think that would inspire me to pick it up, but I'm gonna read it anyway. Yeah, this book is not even that long. It's only 400 pages. The font's not even that tiny, and I'm excited to read it. I just think that I'm going to be getting into a whole new world, and it's the first book in a series, so I do want to kind of like be reading this one, and maybe once I finish a couple of series that I'm in the middle of already. That's the first one. I'm calling Mia, and I think she's an assassin, and this world's inspired by ancient Rome, I believe. But yeah, that's the first one. This is also one of the US paperbacks, hardcovers, just because I love the covers. The third book especially is stunning. I'll insert a picture here. Incredible, and there's like gold on the cover and everything. Next up we have a charity shop book. This is A Winter's Promise by Christelle dabos. This is a book that was originally written in French and has since been translated into English, which makes me think I should have mentioned this in my video when I talk about all the translated fiction on my TBR. I don't think I mentioned it in that, but yeah, I'm mentioning it now. I don't know anything about this. I think there's like floating islands, like the world is made up of floating islands in this, like floating in the sky. I think it's quite a long series, like 4 or 5 books. But I saw it in the charity shop and I'd heard good things at the time. Once again, this book's been out for a little while and I still haven't picked it up, so it is one that's been on my TBR for a long time. Yeah, this was first published in 2013. That's crazy. Obviously didn't buy it then, but I do need to be reading it soon, obviously. And yeah, I got the gorgeous hardcover of that. This is also one that I'd love to dip into, and like if I'm not enjoying it, then I can just unhaul it from my shelves and create some more space, because some of these big fancy hardcovers take up so much space on my shelves. The first of the Dark Academia books is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is super embarrassing because this is actually one of the Waterstones exclusive editions, which means I purchased this in store within release week, and this book came out in 2019, so this has been on my shelves for the longest time. And it's so silly actually because the second book's already out and it's still in print and hardcover, but very soon they're going to switch it over, so the hardcover's unavailable and the paperback's in stock, and so I need to read this book before they do that because I need to buy the sequel in hardcover so I can match this one if I decide to continue the series. So this is one that's actually on my TBR for autumn, this autumn, so I should be reading it I think in October. I think that's right, I'm not sure, but I want to buddy read this with my bestie and we shall see. This is beautiful, this book, look at it, it's incredible. This is also one that I could probably sell if I don't love it, because I know that people love these Waterstones exclusive editions. Another Waterstones exclusive edition, which again means that I bought this in release week or release month or whatever and still haven't got to it. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This book had so much hype when it first came out, and that was because this is by the same author who wrote The Night Circus, which is a really popular book on BookTube, Bookstagram, the book internet world, and it has been for a very long time. That's actually a book I haven't read yet, so I don't know why I kind of got swept along with the hype, but I think I was just so like enamored by this cover, because look, isn't it incredible? This version has stenciled edges with the sword, the bee and the key, and the back is beautiful as well, and the spine. And then what was really cool is that in Waterstones you could get a different colour hardcover. The 2 shades of blue, there was a shade of pink, and then there was a different colour as well. I can't remember, but I got this beautiful turquoise colour, which is just incredible. So again, could sell this if I don't love it, so I would love to read this soon. But yeah, honestly, this is just the most beautiful book. This is one of the most beautiful books I own for sure. I don't know anything about this book. I think it's lots to do with books. It's like a book within a book within a book or something like that. I've heard kind of mixed reviews, but from the people who love it, they like really love it. So I'm hoping I shall be one of those people. This is Babel by R.F. Kuang. This book came out last year, the end of last year. So this one hasn't been on my TBR for very long because I actually received it for Christmas. This beautiful signed copy, which is wonderful. Such a cool book to have signed. There's a little signature. Yeah, this is a dark academia book. I've heard that it's like a lot to have your brain about you when you're reading it. I'm very excited to read it. Also, it matches my nails. Isn't that so fun? Side point. I think this is meant to be great. Just such like a genius piece of work, and so I'm very excited to finally read it. It's actually on my rough, very loose September TBR, so hopefully I'll get to this one soon, but I'm thinking it's going to take me a very long time to get through because it is long, first of all, and second of all, like I said, it's just like quite intellectual, so I'm going to have to be paying attention when I read this. But hopefully I will get to this very, very soon. Definitely across like the rest of the year, I'm hoping, or maybe into the beginning of next year, but this is like high priority TBR. Babel's set in Oxford and it's historical fiction fantasy, definitely like an urban fantasy, but there is magic, actual magic in this, and it is a lot about colonization and translation, everything like that. So I think it's gonna be a great read. Possible 5-star prediction. The internet's beloved child, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. A book about dragon riders, about this dragon school. It sounds incredible. I've had so many stellar reviews, 5 stars, and I'm very, very excited to pick this one up. Again, September TBR, but I'm hoping to get through a few books in September, and like these two are chunky, but I do think I will love this. I'd be very surprised if I didn't. This is a beautiful gift. I might end up buddy reading it actually. I need to message Lucy and ask her if she wants to do that. That's Fourth Way. I'm very excited to see what I think. I'm also, fingers crossed, gonna vlog the experience of reading that book, which I'm sure you would all love to see. Another high fantasy with dragons in, but significantly bigger. The Power of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. A book that's been in my possession for a couple of years now, and I'm just terrified of it basically because it's 800 pages. It's just enormous. This is a book I also own on my Kindle, so spoiler for my Kindle TBR video if you haven't seen that already. Again, I've heard incredible things about this. I've heard that it's so worth the kind of like slog to read. You do really get the payoff by the end, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. I love it so much. It does take up a huge amount of space on my shelves, and it's something that kind of looming over me. I'm gonna feel so accomplished when I finally read this book. This is on my kind of like loose 2023 TBR, not my official video that I posted, but like, I don't know. I do want to read this very soon, but I'm thinking maybe early 2024. I think I'm gonna just like choose to read this book when I'm very much in the mood for it. That's the thing that's gonna really like inspire me to chug through it and complete it. Final huge hardcover fantasy we have is the sequel to House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. This is House of Sky and Breath, a book I bought super recently actually, and I have been recently very inspired to pick this book up, and that is 100% because of Lucy, who I've already mentioned in this video, but she just read this book recently and she gave it 5 stars. Everyone was so kind of like blown away by the ending. I'm just so excited. Like, Sarah J Maas is the author of the Throne of Glass series and the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I've read all of ACOTAR, but I haven't read all of Throne of Glass, and I think Throne of Glass might link in with this book or something at the end, so I'm scared of spoiling that other series for me, but I'm gonna have to look into that because I could just be making it up. Last night I watched a video where someone did like a plot summary of the first book, House of Earth and Blood, which I read in 2020, and I definitely needed like a summary in order to go into this book. Even watching the summary video got me so excited for this one, so I think this is gonna be picked up soon-ish. I would like to read it before the 3rd book comes out, which is February 2024, so maybe I'll read this in January. We'll have to see. This is a middle grade urban fantasy. I have a bind up of The Spiderwick Chronicles, the completely fantastical edition by Tony DiTerlizzi and Holly Black. So yeah, this is all of the Spiderwick novels. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. It's also got art at the end, character concept art, which is so cool. It's a very, very cool edition of this book. But yeah, Spiderwick is one of my favourite ever films. I watched it in the cinema actually when it first came out, and it just kind of enchanted me as a child. I'm very excited to finally see what the books are like because I never read them. I can't wait to dip into this beautiful edition. This is one that I could just read here and there because it is middle grade, so I'm sure I'm likely to whiz through the books. I never think of it, so this video here reminded me that I own this beautiful book here. This is a very kind of left field book, kind of comes out of nowhere, but I have Ironfoot by Dave Duncan. This is the first book in the Enchanted General series, I believe. Book one of the Enchanted General. I'm not sure how long the series is. I don't know anything about it other than it's historical fantasy. It's set in 1164. We're following this boy. He's trying to save the king. Thinks the king's gonna be assassinated. I don't know. It's just, it feels, I just got kind of swept away by the cover, and I heard a good review from a YouTuber I follow called Holly Hearts Books. I love her channel. I'll definitely have her linked. I think she's great, and she really just like sold me for this book, but I still haven't picked it up. I decided I needed it immediately, so I ordered it straight away, and that was many years ago, so this needs to happen. I need to actually see how long this series is as well, because I think, I don't know, I get the vibe that it could be quite a long one. This author has written so many books. Look at this. These are all series, and then the books in each of them beneath. Scary. This is a recent purchase. I have Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. This book was very popular like many years ago, and I was always intrigued by it because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and so was ACOTAR originally, which I love ACOTAR. And I also think it's a standalone, which is stunning because I've got so many books in series here. I don't know how I'll find this out because this probably is quite dated because I think it came out quite a few years ago. 2014, yeah. But it could be a fun time. I have a couple of Stephanie Garber books. I have the final book in the Caraval series, Finale, and I have the first book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which is called Once Upon a Broken Heart. I reread Caraval this year after first reading it in 2018, read Legendary, the second book, for the first time, and so it's time that I pick up Finale, so this will hopefully be read within the next couple of months. Really fun fantasy series, quite strong romance subplots. The world is just magical, it's like very circus-like. And then I've heard incredible things about the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I can't wait to finally pick up this book once I've finished Finale. This was a very random purchase, but I just think I was in love with the cover. I saw it in the works. It was only £3. I was like, sold. These are Vows by Lexi Ryan. This is such beautiful art on the cover. Look at this. This painting, like digital art. I don't know what this is about. It's got Faye in it, and I've seen some good reviews. And I think it could be a little bit trashy, but I also think that I'm gonna have a lot of fun while I read it. It also costs nothing, so either way, I have a beautiful cover on my shelf, even if I hate the book. This is another book I bought from the charity shop. I'd heard good things about it a long time ago, and when I saw it in the charity shop, I decided to pick it up. The Last Samsara by Kristin Ciccarelli. This book is also about dragons. There's actually very few fantasy books that include dragons, so I was immediately sold. I also adore this cover. I know so many people don't, but I think it's beautiful. I need to finally pick this up, but it's quite long. The font is very small. We will see. Another book that's very long. Midnight Sun. I bought this when it first came out, which I think was a few years ago now, 2020. I still haven't picked it up yet. I have this huge hardcover book, but again, this is on my autumn TBR. I think October. I'm like saving all the big books for these autumn winter months, so I don't know whether I'm gonna get around to this one, but I would love to because there's no other season I can read this book in realistically. Like, I just know that I'm gonna get in such like a twilight mood in October, November. It happens every single year and it's the best time. While I usually just watch the movies, it would be very fun to read this book. This is just Twilight from Edward's perspective, if you didn't already know. It's crazy that we got this book. I think this is gonna be terrible. I think I'm gonna have so much fun. I have a couple more books that I bought at the same time as The Last Samsara. I have Crown of Coral and Pearl by Mara Rutherford and Raw by Cora Carmack. I can't tell you anything about these books. I just don't know. I just need to hurry up and read them. I think these are both first books in series. This one definitely is. I'm not sure whether this one is a series or it's a standalone, but I have a feeling it does have a sequel. I always thought this book was about like mermaids or pirates or something, but I think it is just like a standard kind of court fantasy. But this one is massive and it's YA, so I should just read it. And then this one also is YA, and I think the first book in a decently long series, at least like a trilogy or a quartet. And this one is tiny, so I'm not super excited to pick it up. I think it's one that I just need to hurry up and read, and then I can unhaul it if I don't love it, because I don't have like very high hopes about this one, Crown of Coral and Pearl and The Last Samsara, except for the fact that The Last Samsara has dragons in. Last stack. This was a long video. We have The Tangleroot Palace by Marjorie Liu. This is the only book I have of short stories. It's actually an ARC copy. I chose this book because the author is a New York Times bestseller, and also they won the Hugo Award, the British Fantasy Award, the Romantic Times Award, and the Eisner Award, which is crazy, like, to have that many wins. This was a book that I thought I could just dip into kind of here and there. But this book has the most ridiculously tiny font. I genuinely don't know how this was approved. I mean, maybe it's just the ARC. I need like a magnifying glass or something. Anyways, this is the only fantasy short story collection I own, so if I ever feel like one of those, I've got that for now. Two more ARCs. I have The Atlas 6 no, this is not an ARC, this is a finished copy, but I have an ARC of the Alice Paradox, both by Oliver Blake. So the first book, finished copy, this was a gift from my friend, and maybe my buddy read it, maybe we won't. This is massive, this book. But this is another kind of dark academia inspired fantasy. It follows magicians, so I'm pretty sure there has to be magic. I think so. So the second book's cover in this edition is beautiful, but I do own the ARC, which is a very cool, fun thing to own, especially as it is numbered. It's actually copy 191 out of 200 proofs, which is very, very cool. But again, this font, like, what is happening? These are long books, my dude, but I've heard so many good things about this series, particularly about the first book, so it'll happen one day. A very kind of popular epic adult fantasy, The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the first book in a trilogy that's got first book, second book, and the novella out, so 2.5 books, and then the third book isn't out, and has also been being written for like 10 years or something. I think over 10 years, maybe 12 years, and there's no sign of it, so I'm scared to pick up this book if there's no conclusion to the series. I've heard incredible things about this. I'm also like, I really want to love this, so I want to pick this up when I'm like in such a specific mood. I want to be in the exact right mood so this can just like hit so hard and become one of my favorite books. But we're following Kvothe. He is a bard, I think, and he's an older man. Our main character, who I think could be unnamed, meets him in a tavern, and old man Kvothe recounts some of the stories of his life. Very, very cool. So I'm excited for that. I love a tavern setting in a fantasy book. This could be so good. Like, it needs to be like the dead of winter, and I need to be snuggled up by a fireplace, which I don't have in my home, so don't know how that's gonna happen. A beverage. It's gonna be so good. I'm losing my mind a little bit because we've been here for so long. But An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, again, was huge on BookTube back in the day when this book came out years and years ago, and people loved it. But I haven't heard anything about the series since, which is kind of strange, but whatever. This is the first book in it. I think there's 4 books total, and every single one of them so well loved. So is the author, Sabaa Tahir. I think she's written books post this one. This is, again, a kind of like Roman inspired fantasy world. So there's like gladiators or something like that, and it sounds very cool. This is very YA. I might be a little bit too old for it now, but I'm hoping to love it. I mean, I'm hoping to love all of these. I'd love to get like a little taste of what people loved about this book back in the day. Right, next I have an entire series. I wouldn't usually buy a series all in one go, but I did find these all very cheap. I think they were in like a 3 for 2 offer in the works. So I think I paid about £6 for the entire series, which is so cheap. So I have Graceling, Fire, and Bitterblue by Kristin Cashore. These are the first 3 books in a 4-part series. I don't actually know anything about this. Again, say it with me, was big many years ago. Don't hear people talk about it now. Although, having said that, I think a few people have read Graceling. I think Sarah from ciccarelli, I think she liked it, but yeah, I want to love it too. I love these new editions. I think they're beautiful. But you know what's really unfortunate? This is like just a side tangent and we're too long into this video to mention it, but whatever, I'm going to say it anyways. 4th book. The only copies I've seen of it don't have the gold foiling. How can I have these 3 beautiful ones and then have one that doesn't have the gold foiling? Like, no. So I'm tracking down that 4th book with the gold foiling. If it doesn't exist, I would personally attach it to it. I won't do that, but I will be very, very sad. I really hope I love it because I own all 3 books. We will see. I need the right moment. Oh my gosh, besties. I just knocked over a massive pile of books. We're getting to the end. We have Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This is the first book in this series. I think it's a trilogy. It's a YA fantasy and it's inspired by The Legend of King Arthur, but it's got like a modern twist and touches on lots of really important topics and themes, and I've heard so many good things about it. This is, again, look at this font. What are these people thinking? Simon & Schuster, what are you thinking? But I've heard incredible things about this, and this was a beautiful gift from my friend Sarah, so I think I will really enjoy this. I just have to be in the right mood. I mean, same for any of these. A Heart So Fierce and Broken is a sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, and there's 3 books in this series, and I've read the first one. This is the second one. I don't actually own the third one yet. I really enjoyed the first book. I think I gave it 4 stars. I'm hoping the series gets better and better because this second book follows a side character in the first book who I loved. So I'm really excited to see what I think about his character. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of space and battery. So that's that book. I love these UK paperbacks. I think it's so cute. I've left a massive gap between book 1 and book 2, so I will need to look at the summary or reread it or something. That's the only reason why I haven't picked up that book yet. And then lastly, before my camera and I both pass out, I have King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in a duology, which is like a spin-off from the Six of Crows duology. So we have the Grisha trilogy and then we have the Six of Crows duology. The series follows those 2. So it has characters from both the trilogy and the duology in it. I haven't heard very good things about this. Someone left a comment on one of my videos, said they'd read the second book in this duology and it's one of their favourite ever books. I do have like higher hopes than I once did. But yeah, this is a beautiful cover, if nothing else, and it was £3 in the works, so can't really go wrong. I have 1:48 of battery left, but I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was enjoyable to watch. I have so many amazing books in front of me and so many books that I can't wait to get to. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. That's how I can tell that you did, and I'll see you very soon in a couple of days for another one. Bye.